Mike, turn your games down.
Time for a movie episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who crashed their ship on Endor with me tonight?
Oh, I'm Kendall. I got distracted. There's pictures of Power Rangers in the chat.
Yes.
And I am Kyle, the pictures of Power Rangers.
Hi, guys, and thank you for joining me. We are here to talk about a movie that I meant to do 2 years ago and have not forgot about, unfortunately, that I wanted to do this. We're here to talk about a Star Wars movie that I bet you didn't know existed. Star Wars Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure.
So the last time I was on for a Star Wars movie, it was the holiday special. So
Oh God, yes.
I believe that I'm officially. It's got to be official that I'm the one to come on for all of the questionable production quality Star Wars content.
Yes.
So if you do the Droids cartoon, I'm your man.
I think I'm safe with that because it's not a movie, but this was technically a TV movie. That came out in '84.
So I really wish I liked it more. Like I feel like it was like 70% of the way there.
I think I would have liked this as a kid had I seen this in like the early '90s. Like, it's a fine kids movie if you're a kid in the '80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but maybe not. But maybe.
I don't know. The Ewoks
I guess compared to what?
are creepy, man. Like, their eyes, they don't blink, and they sleep with their eyes open, and there was some disturbing things that if I was a kid, I'd be like, whoa, why do you look like
This also takes place before Return of the Jedi. Because this was canon at one time.
It does. I thought it took place after Return of the Jedi.
No, it's actually, they both take place before.
Okay. It's been some time since I looked into that, but
Oh, no, it's not important because I can guarantee you this isn't canon anymore. I mean,
right,
it's nothing in it
it's not
matters.
Yeah, it's not canon. You're correct. It is considered Legends.
Yep, that as well.
Oh, and this was directed by John Cordy, whoever the hell that is. So we always say the directors, but he don't know anything about him. So yeah,
It was just like I said. It was just like it was almost there for me. Like I think like if there were just like little things, like if they had cut the subplot with the sister being sick, if they'd had an extra scene at the beginning where they sort of explained why the kids and the parents got separated, and like a few other things in between, like I think it would have been like really solid. Like, because it doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10 for me to love it as a Star Wars thing. It just just barely missed the mark for me. And I just feel like if it was I mean I guess it was a TV movie made on the tail end of Star Wars popularity, and it's a weird choice to be the Ewoks in general, but
I mean, what year is Return of the Jedi? 83?
83, yeah.
Okay, so this would have been the year after.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it was a toy cash in, right? Like
It had to be.
that was the whole point of that, probably.
I mean, that was the point of so many Star Wars decisions in general, I swear. General Grievous was made to sell toys. I will die on that hill.
Yeah, but he's an awesome.
Well, I mean, yeah. General Grievous was made to, I mean, I guess maybe made to sell toys a little bit, but also he was made as a big reveal in the Tartakovsky series, and it was like freaking awesome.
I mean, I like him. I feel like it was a decision made with toy sales in mind.
Well, I mean, but like that's just like a big part of Star Wars is making things that would look like cool toys, like just like Power Rangers. Like, a big part of it is is about like, but that is why some of those designs are so iconic, because that's why Boba Fett is such an iconic character, because his outfit was cool because he sold the most action figures, Yes,
and, I know.
And so it's all good. But I mean, the bare bones of this was like a really good idea. The parents kind of getting captured, kind of having to get your group together to go on a journey. The kids having to work with the Ewoks, which these strange creatures that don't that speak another language and have there's a formula there that works. So there were some good moments in this. In the chat before,
a little bit of English.
Yeah, they learned a few
Well,
words.
that was weird when they started saying the English words.
I'm like, just stick with the whole like,
Yeah.
just the noises. I mean, my favorite part is when you have, because the whole idea is you have these two kids that have crashed. Their parents are missing. That's kind of the plot of the film, and then they end up meeting up with the Ewoks. But the whole idea of like when the stupid kid will be like, "It's medicine, medicine." Like they don't speak the same language as you, idiot. Like.
Yeah. If you say it over and over again and louder, then
They'll eventually get it.
Then they'll understand.
Yeah, that kid was so like, man, he was just up and down the whole movie. Things would get so intense and he'd be like really into it, and then he'd just come back to zero like instantly. Like when Chuka Truck dies at the end, he cries for like a second. He's like, all right, it's time to go save some people now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh no, my friend! Oh your ex! I can't. Okay, I'll go save the day."
This Ewok that I've known for
but you know what else you gonna do? I thought he did a pretty good job. I think you're right that he was up and down. There were some scenes where it was like he was overly angry or overly accepting in ways that didn't totally earn it or whatever. But his performance in general, I thought was pretty good. Kyle called in the chat, called him Budget Mark Hamill. When I was watching it, I told my wife that he looked like Mark Hamill's son. Like he really looked and really delivered lines like Mark Hamill. And I thought that was pretty crazy.
I didn't even think about it until Kyle said it, and I'm like, man, Kyle's right.
And I think part of it too was that he had that like 70s mop top.
Yep.
That like you just don't see people with today. And that really added to it. And then also the sort of like, I don't know what, like that sort of like melodramatic delivery of lines was very similar to Mark Hamill. Even
his outfit,
everything.
Like it was a mock rebel flight suit looking thing. Like he's got the white vest and the orange jumpsuit.
Which to be fair, like that maybe that's just how people dressed.
True.
In Star Wars world, like that's we
don't know, but yeah.
And he was in a ship. Like maybe he was wearing the flight suit because he was flying on a flight.
Why was a kid flying?
Well, he was like in the ship too.
Well, like how did they crash?
Did you guys notice that the ship is a TARDIS?
Yes.
It's much bigger on the inside than it is on the outside.
I did not think about that, or even notice that it didn't fit its diameters.
It was because like they were like I looked in the ship and I couldn't find them. It's like let's look in the ship again. It's like that ship was big enough for like 4 seats and that's it. Like there's no way they could have gotten lost inside the ship.
They're not very smart characters. Okay. Even the Ewoks in here, like I really like Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is a flawed movie, but I do like that movie and I like the Ewoks. I like parts of this movie with the Ewoks. Like, to me, it just somehow works with them, like, discovering this. And, I mean, I was also thinking, well, yeah, of course Wicket knows what a human is. He knows when he sees Princess Leia. He saw humans before. That don't matter. But that's how I was thinking it, too. Like, yeah, no wonder he, warms up to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely parallels. Wicket likes the ladies.
Yeah, he does. I especially got a kick out of that opening scene when Wicket and Deej are trying to rescue the other Ewoks. And they do the rope gag. They hit it twice where the rope gets cut to launch the glider, and then as they're rescuing them, of course, the rope gets cut once again on a sharp rock.
Yeah, and they fall. Although the hang glider bit was cool. I thought the hang glider bit looked really
that was really neat.
I liked it too.
All of the stuff. So it was shot like mostly near like where Skywalker Ranch is, and so all the scenery is pretty spot on. But it's funny. You can tell how like low budget it is because instead of like replacing animals with weird aliens, there's just a ferret, like chickens clucking around.
I did like that.
To be fair, that ferret did look pretty weird. So, like, a ferret definitely works. But, there's the goat and there's the rabbit. Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
Like, we don't got money for this, so we're just gonna go find some live animals and bring home somebody's pets and put them out there.
You know, there was a cut scene in A New Hope where Obi-Wan makes reference to a duck, and Luke says, "What's a duck?" I believe that's a thing. That may be apocryphal, but so, you know, maybe there are ducks or maybe there are regular animals. Who knows?
I mean, I could buy it. It's just not something they went for.
Yeah. Great. And like,
there are Star Wars Ewok toys, by the way, but not for the movie, just for the animated series,
oh yeah, that hot mess.
which ran after this ended. I've never seen it. I never go.
There is a duck-related Wikipedia.
Just to clarify what your comment was, be like, yes, you did say duck in a deleted thing. I would not be surprised.
A different duck.
I mean, this movie tries to capture the Star Wars vibe, like, you know, just with like the idea of teenager having to go save people, I guess. Like, I don't know. I mean, it has some of that creativity. It's just, but also, like, I couldn't be the only one, but when I first saw this movie, so I unfortunately have seen this movie twice now, and I do mean unfortunately, because 2 years ago I was actually supposed to record about this, and I watched this film, and then it was one of my few recordings that completely fell apart, one of two, and I never did it. And then I had to rewatch this movie last week, and I was like, it's okay. So am I the only one that thinks this movie reminds him of Lord of the Rings? Because they have a little group of Ewoks get their little items.
Yeah, it's definitely got a connection to Lord. Like it's definitely playing along with that same formula. So okay, it's from the novelization of the first Star Wars movie. Still, even a duck has to be taught how to swim, Obi-Wan says, and Luke says, "What's a duck?"
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was
According to Reddit. That was very important.
Seeing the shaman getting the items and like having to find the other two Ewoks, or else they wouldn't be able to make it across the desert.
So I loved the scene with the hunter where he's like, "We don't need him. Check this out." And he throws the axe against the tree, and then the hunter says, "Oh yeah, well," and does the same thing. He's like, "Wow, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. We could really use you in our group." And then he goes with them. And it was a cheesy scene, but like I did actually like that the kid's showing some competence there, like, you know, playing to the guy's ego. I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
It has some cute moments. Like, it isn't just awful.
No. Yeah, no, it's not awful. Again, that's where, like, if it was, I just feel like if it was just that, you know, if it was just that much better, like the scene with him, like, just saying medicine over and over again, and the whole bit with the girl being sick didn't really play for me. Them starting out separated, like, and there were some other things that just didn't quite work for me. But other than that, like, if this was just a little bit more cohesive and like a little bit better, then I think it would have been great. Like, it would have been, like, honestly, it's the kind of thing that might have changed a certain age group's opinion of Star Wars, because, you know, we call that time between Return of the Jedi and the prequels, or at least until the Thrawn trilogy came out in like 94. We call that the dark times. You know, that was when it was unclear whether Star Wars had any future at all. And so, like, this stuff from the 80s that was like the lower budget, lower quality stuff, if it had been just a little bit better, then, you know, maybe Star Wars would have, you know, been even bigger than it is now.
Because there are two of these movies. There's a sequel to this movie that we're going to talk about at some point.
I'm kind of with you. Like, the back half of the movie is far better than the front half of the movie for me. And it takes too long to kind of build up to the excitement for me, at least.
Yeah, and it's also and also the whole movie is kind of too long. Yeah. It's an hour and 37 minutes. I think if it was like about 80 minutes or whatever what's the length that a movie has to be 2 hours on television?
Hour and a half? That's probably what this was.
Well, it's an hour and 37 minutes. So it's well over an hour and a half. That's the length of the movie. That's okay. That's on Disney Plus. The cut on Disney Plus is an hour and 37 minutes.
Probably was that link just for
22 and a half minutes. Is 50 minutes per hour. I guess that would be 100. That would be 100 minutes, which would be like an hour and 40 minutes. So this was probably cut for so that you could do a 2 hour time slot. Yeah, I think if it had been like cut for like an hour and a half time slot, or or if the first half was better.
Yeah,
but it felt like it was
tolerable.
Yeah, it took too long to get going, and then it just kind of felt like, although it was a little rushed in the second half. I think maybe if you could have had like a full blown mini adventure with the hunter and with the mystic,
because like the fight scenes are super short because there's just not enough time. Like, the fight with the spider. I'm so glad that spider looks terrible because I hate spiders. And that was like that thing was so bad. All of the monsters look terrible. They're awful. But it's like funny how bad they are.
And it's acceptable in a 1980s TV movie. Like I think that's like that did not take away from the experience. In fact, it added to the experience quite a bit.
Because it made you laugh.
Yeah. It was fun. Like it was fun. And it didn't I wasn't laughing at it. I was laughing. I was just laughing, while still enjoying the drama of the scene. I still cared about. I will say, I mean, maybe you did need the beginning to care about the relationship between the kids. Although I don't remember the kid's name is Mace, like Mace Windu, because that's like important because Mace is a name that was around in a bunch of like George Lucas's writings, like that led to Star Wars. Including like in the first draft.
Think about
in the first draft of Star Wars, there was a character named Maximilian Winduarte. Huh. But yeah, so like that name being Mace is like significant because it's connected with other stuff that
he got
George
his
Lucas
first
wrote.
Mace in the movie that nobody read. Because this is a forgotten movie. Like I'm still surprised that they put this on Disney Plus. Yet the holiday special I don't see on Disney Plus for some reason.
The Brave Wookiee is on Disney Plus. The cartoon from the holiday special.
Oh, but not the holiday special itself. Oh, I guess that's probably
not in its entirety.
Probably rights issues, I bet, or some bullshit.
Or they just don't want to do it. Yeah, there's rumors that when George Lucas sold the rights to Disney, the deal was that they were never allowed to release the holiday special. I love the holiday special. Don't get me wrong.
I know you do.
If folks should go to Kendallcast Network on YouTube and watch my review of this past year, I watched the holiday special muted and set to Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff.
All right,
but yeah, I love the holiday special, and it's not as bad as the holiday special.
No, it's actually like a more coherent movie,
right?
I mean, this is a coherent movie. It's not great, but it's a movie. Like you get a plot, you get some interesting parts, you get to maybe care for the characters that are idiots, sure. But it isn't. I mean, the holiday special is bad.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it's not enjoyable, but it's not good. This, again, like I said earlier, I feel like if I was a kid and I had saw this in the, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I might have been like, this ain't that bad. And because I liked Return of the Jedi as a kid. So I feel like I would have liked this movie because I liked the Ewoks as a kid. I even have a giant, and I mean giant Funko Pop of Wicket. That's like 20 inches or something.
Well, so I think the thing is, if you watched this, if you were, let's not say 4 or 5 years old, but let's say like 8 or 10 years old, like where you're an age where you're like starting to be discerning. I think if this movie was a little bit better, then it could have been formative. It could have been the kind of thing that made people fall in love with Star Wars. I think this scene, I think there's a good chance that if people only saw this and hadn't seen the Star Wars movies because, they were, they're watching the movie of the week or whatever, and watching this TV movie, but they haven't sought out those other ones, then this probably isn't going to be the thing this movie is probably not going to be the thing that makes a kid fall in love with Star Wars. But it might, but you're right. It might like keep them going, maybe even keep them going from watching the movies as a kid. And then they see this when they're 10 and that keeps them going for a few years until they play the role-playing game in the late 80s or read the Thrawn trilogy in the 90s. This could be something. I mean, the other thing is I think it's apt that we watched this right after Skeleton Crew concluded.
Oh, that wasn't on purpose. That was just, kind of. I'll try to get my list done, but yes.
And so like, I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Skeleton Crew wasn't perfect, but I do think that Skeleton Crew was a stronger piece than Caravan of Courage.
Well, yes.
And both are
3
kind of
years
playing a
ago.
similar role in that they're like a TV, a TV supplemental work that doesn't have any characters that we're super familiar with, that's aimed at a younger audience, and maybe trying to get that next generation into Star Wars. Because I think people and I'm on the record a million times saying this, but I think when people watch the Disney Plus shows that have come out, they're comparing it to the first time they saw Empire Strikes Back when they were 12. They're not comparing it to like, this is just the next piece that maybe is targeted at a specific audience that's not you, or maybe is just, something for you to enjoy because you like to hang out in this world. And as a work where you're getting to hang out in the world of Star Wars, I think some stuff like Skeleton Crew and the Acloyte and even like Book of Boba Fett, they're fun things where you get to hang out in Star Wars. And I mean, if all we get is if all they had was the Ewoks movie, then that they'll take what they can get in the 80s. But we are fortunate now to be able to experience this stuff. And I mean, yeah, it's a similar time now. We had a trilogy that was commercially successable, but people had a problem with the third installment, and people had problems with Empire Strikes Back too. I don't think it's quite. I mean, the internet didn't exist back then, but
Yeah.
One of the best movies ever. I mean, not my favorite of the
It's
series,
up there
but it's
for
still
sure.
a great movie.
yeah, but like, come on, they completely changed what Jedis can do. Like, suddenly Jedis can use telekinesis. Come on, this random villain from the first movie is Luke's father.
Yes.
Is he even telling the truth?
Luke knows it to be true. Yeah.
There's a stupid Muppet. Like, what's the deal with this Muppet?
No, I mean, you are right. That's what people were thinking, I'm sure. So I'm rewatching this while we're talking. I forgot how long this ferret is on
they really
screen.
went into it.
And she's just holding the ferret, too. And, like,
Well, and okay, so
I just want to know what was going through somebody's head where they're just like,
like maybe one
ferret,
of you
man.
can explain
Ferret.
this scene, or like I don't know if you even remember it, where it's like the nighttime scene where the one Ewok is like crying while looking over all the other Ewoks sleeping, and then Deej like wakes up and like comforts her because I think she's like the mom Ewok. I don't really know.
Well, because they're all going to go on the journey that
But she was
no
like
Ewok
looking
has
at like
ever
the
returned from.
walkling, and like that thing's not going on the journey.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I didn't realize that was the mom Ewok. I thought that was the dad Ewok, but they made choices to make them all kind of look the same. So yeah, I wasn't sure which one that was. But I think that's what it is that character was concerned about, about what was going to happen, that they were going to go on this journey where some of them might not return.
Yeah.
did only one of them die?
Only one of them
guy was
died.
the
Yeah.
Which
Just the
I
hunter.
totally
Yeah.
thought-
So we can call the hunter Boromir, right?
I totally thought when the big
That's how I kept
ogre
thinking of
thing
this.
was shaking, I thought it was going to kill itself that way. I was like, oh, this is how this thing goes down. So I did actually appreciate the twist that the rocks hit Chukatrak instead, and it was sad, but
By the way, that ogre has been in one other Star Wars thing ever. Star Wars Galaxies. He's a monster you can fight in one of the worlds.
Seems about right. I was really hoping. I really wish that he was a Gundark.
Gundark. What is it? Oh, is that from the Thrawn stuff?
No, it's from Empire Strikes Back. Han tells Luke he looks strong enough to pull the ears off of a Gundark.
Oh, okay.
And I think there's also is it Gundarks that Anakin rescued Obi-Wan from before Attack of the Clones, and they reference it when they're on the elevator? I forget.
Can't remember. I know what you're talking
I
about,
shouldn't
but I
have
can't
pulled you
remember.
out of that pit of
Gundark's
Gundarks.
nest, and Anakin rescues him.
Yeah. So that would have been. It's the same that it was a Gundark, and that it wasn't used for other stuff.
And Gundarks were in Clone Wars, by the way. They're in the Clone Wars show.
Oh yeah,
Wars,
I think
so.
I remember that too. Yeah, that sounds familiar too.
I just looked it up, but no, that's funny.
But and you look at that image, even that image of what a Gundark looks like, which obviously they didn't have when they made the Ewoks
No, it's
movie.
pretty close.
He's not that far off.
Missing the third and fourth arm, but it's close.
Yeah. I mean, considering that they are not the same thing, there's some similarity there.
I just thought it was cool because you don't normally get giants in Star Wars, and to think about it, at this time we have so little Star Wars, and also like seeing that there was more to Endor than what we see in Return of the Jedi. I'm fine with that. It was a pretty big moon. Like, it wasn't just the Imperials. Didn't they have just like one little base, and that's really all it was in Endor? They just had it well defended.
So I thought it was really interesting that we learned in this movie that there's more than one typographical feature or topographical feature, that there actually is on the forest moon of Endor. It's not all forest.
I like that.
There's even that rock formation that's in all the Star Trek episodes. And speaking of rocks, so Kyle and I play the out of print Star Wars customizable card game, and the players committee, who the volunteer organization that keeps the game alive and produces new sets for it. A few years ago, they came out with a card called Rock, and which it was based on the Rock from the Solo movie that Han Solo pretends is a thermal detonator, and it is labeled as an Ewok weapon. And so I saw that and I was like, "Oh, is that a reference to Caravan of Courage?" And I asked the leader, the design advocate, and he said, "If you want it to be, it is." But he did not. He was not familiar with the reference.
I mean, how many people have probably watched this movie since Disney Plus got it? Like, I highly doubt that many people went there and clicked on it like us, like we did.
Well, the thing is that I think, Kyle, you're about my age, right?
I'm 33.
Okay. So most of the Star Wars CCG people are exactly 2 years older than me. They're all like right around like 39, 40. And so they are of an age so that means that like if you're 40 in 2025, you were born in 1975. So they were the ones that were 8 years old when they saw this. And so actually I think a lot of them were like target age to have seen this. So that's where I thought maybe that, and they're all, if you're crazy enough to be playing a 20 years out of print collectible card game based on Star Wars, then you probably have some deep knowledge, including stuff like this. I mean, we all definitely knew these movies exist, even if we didn't see them. We knew the Ewoks movies existed.
I mean, I knew of them. I just never knew a way to really watch them. And that's why, and a couple years ago, I had made it a thing, and this is one of the few ones that I'm actually trying to make sure I stay to my word, is that I said I would cover all the Star Wars movies. And I meant every Star Wars movie, including these things.
So have you covered, what else have you not covered?
Battle for Endor, the second Ewok movie. That's it, of movies. Okay. Theatrical and TV movies. That's all that's left.
Have you covered the Lego specials?
No, I have not done those.
Okay. So those are the Disney Plus Lego specials are excellent.
All right. I mean, I've never seen them. I can give it a try.
They're real good. I haven't watched. To be fair, I haven't watched. I think it's called Rebuild the Galaxy, the one that where like they do a time travel thing and makes everything all messed up. With the Dark Falcon and Darth Jar Jar and everything. I haven't watched that one yet, but the Christmas one and the Halloween one and forget. I think in the summer there was like a summer one.
Maybe.
They were all really good.
Why not? As I'm rewatching this movie, there's one part when the Ewoks are fighting the boar creature, and you can just see how how it's not there. The budget, that whole you can tell. That's a green screen.
I did get, and it's I had to look this up when the movie came out, and because I got big time Princess Bride fire swamp scenes from a lot of that, but like especially when he like reaches his hand in the tree and it gets like attacked. I was like, man, this is the rodents of unusual size. Yeah,
there were definitely some. That's where I'm saying, like, if this movie was better, it would have been really good. Like, there definitely were some Princess Bride vibes that I got from it. Yeah, definitely some broad strokes of Lord of the Rings. The main actors' performances were good. Even the little girl, she reminded me a ton of what's her name in E.T.
Drew Barrymore character.
Drew Barrymore in E.T. Yeah, they cast those kids. They cast had some chops. Like there were a lot of pieces in place for this thing. I was in some ways I was impressed, but also I I don't know. And there were also some really, really weird dialogue when he's like, I wish that I had been a good kid. I would have been the perfect kid. I wish I was the perfect son. You know, because it's like
there was
I guess who wrote the story
any of that
of this movie.
like,
it's a story by George Lucas.
It's like, oh, this is something that happened before you all crashed. We have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah. I think it's just a shame that they didn't have a scene with the parents at the beginning to see like why the kids were how they got separated or whatever, just because, you know, and done that instead of some of the time they spent with the Ewoks, because I think that would have made their like, or they could have just not like, they could have just, if they wanted to have them separated, they could have just not had this like undercurrent of like, apparently there was some fight that they had, some vague fight that they had. Like, you could just like, the kids getting separated from the parents is enough.
Yeah, you don't need it to be like, we did something wrong, they're mad at us. Yeah. I've noticed this. I mean, especially just when I was younger in the 90s, I remember really being attracted to fantasy type movies. Like I like Conan, Cole the Conqueror, all those just weird, strange movies. I like stuff like that. And this movie kind of made me feel like I was watching an 80s fantasy movie. Because this doesn't feel that science fiction. This feels very fantasy.
Right. Yeah, leaning into the fantasy side of Star Wars, definitely. And I mean, I haven't revisited the Neverending Story or like whatever a bad version of that is. So I don't know. Maybe a lot of that stuff, you know, maybe this is on par with a lot of other stuff that was children's entertainment in the 1980s. I don't know.
Neverending Story still holds up.
It's got some like Dark Crystal vibes too. You guys ever saw that? Which came out in 1982.
Yes. Also on this podcast.
Yeah. I need to rewatch Dark Crystal. I bought Dark Crystal on DVD
good movie
many years ago, intending to rewatch it and then didn't. But yeah, I just, and also like I said, I brought up Neverending Story only because that's one that like I don't think a lot of people have revisited. So I don't know whether it holds up or not. But like a bad version of that is what, like, I don't know if this is comparable to that. Like, does that make sense? Like,
yeah, no, that does.
Because if you say Princess Bride or if you say Neverending Story, like those are the ones that obviously are going to be better than whatever is typical. Like, so I don't know how this compares because it was a miss for me, but I don't know how it compares with other stuff that was around at the time.
I mean, this is also just low budget TV movie, so I mean, there's a lot of that,
right? Because like with the holiday special, like it is a very bad example of the 70s variety show holiday special things, but also there were bad other ones that were like, you know, if you ever watched I grew up when and Sonny and Cher was on TV Land. If you ever watch old episodes of Sonny and Cher, they're not that far off in quality from the Star Wars holiday special. So like we see it, and it's like, you know, there's a leap that's like to what the expectations were at the time, and then since it's a weaker version of that, then there's a leap beyond that. But for us, it's like this is the worst thing I've ever seen because we don't know what else was out there. So I don't know what else was, you know, what was the movie of the week the next week.
I have no idea.
What was that like?
That would be hard to figure out.
Right, obviously, but.
You never know. There's a lot of stuff on the internet for now. So,
yep.
Another thing I want to mention is Warwick Davis is in this movie.
Right.
He's
Warwick
Wicket
Davis is Wicket. Yeah,
which I do appreciate.
Yeah,
that he came back.
I mean, I will say, you know what? I will actually say, you know what? Speaking of Warwick Davis, I couldn't get through Willow, and I got through this. So
Willow's not bad. I like Willow. Willow kind of, but I haven't seen it for a little. I did watch it a couple of years ago for the first time. But Willow's a little bit tougher to watch than I think this is in some aspects. This is more aimed towards kids.
Right. And I'm not even saying that Willow is horrible, but
no. Willow's just
like I couldn't. It was a movie that I couldn't finish when I may have been in the wrong headspace or whatever. But that was a full blown movie that got a follow up on Disney Plus that I think is not available anymore.
Doesn't exist.
I think they removed it from Disney Plus.
Yep. But they were so upset that they removed it immediately after releasing it, pretty much. Because streaming.
Like I said, I couldn't get through it watching the original movie.
I like that season 1, and it ends with a cliffhanger to get you excited for season 2. That will never ever happen.
I hate when shows do that. Like,
they
just
should know that
no show should have a cliffhanger at the end of season 1.
Self-contained story for season 1. Come on.
Yes.
But it's, you know, it's cap. I mean, this is the one area, like, I don't like being the like, I hate capitalism guy, but it is capitalism because there's no financial incentive to have a satisfying ending to something that is financially unsuccessful. And if it's financially successful, there's also no incentive to have a satisfying ending because you want people to buy the next season. So that's, I mean, I blame capitalism for why stories don't get endings anymore.
Me too.
Normally, it doesn't upset me too much. Acloyte upset me a lot when we did Acloyte. I'm upset that I don't have my next season. So, same.
I'm sure that's. But the good thing about Star Wars is that we know that story will be followed up on in some
comic. Yes,
it might be in a comic. It might be in a book. It might be. They've announced that there's a follow up in the comic.
I think so, right, Kyle? I think you were the one that posted something. Or maybe it was someone else. I feel like it's coming. I feel like they did say they're going to put it in a comic or something because people wanted more.
Yeah, well, just like they resolved part of the Darth Maul Clone Wars story in a comic, and in like there was a whole the Clone Wars project where when the Clone Wars TV show was canceled, they took existing scripts and adapted them into the Darth Maul Son of Dathomir comic, the Dark Disciple novel, I think the Ahsoka novel, which then got like recanonized in Tales of the Jedi. They can do whatever they want.
One got changed a little bit because originally Asajj Ventress died and was supposed to die in the Clone Wars.
I'm glad,
but then now she lives.
I love Ventress.
Yeah,
because she's in Bad Batch season 3.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Same. I'm glad they kept her.
Dark Disciple is a good book, though. I don't care about consistency and continuity. As time goes on, I care less and less. But I'm just glad that we can get these stories told in different avenues. And I like reading the novels and I like reading comics, and I especially like when stuff happens in novels. You know, sometimes the modern novels, they're afraid to make stuff happen.
As long as you're having fun. One thing that I know we talked a little about, like when that shaman gives them the items. I do like how Mace gets a rock and then he leaves it. He just drops it. He's like, I don't need this stupid rock. And then another Ewok picks it up, and he gets upset because all the other Ewoks get like a crystal, the little feathers that apparently make the guy run faster or something at one point. Like, I don't know, but it was just silly.
Yeah. I like Wicket.
Projects are neat because they all have,
which was
like,
a good moment.
Because they need the rock to show them the way. Wicket's stick is the only thing that can rescue Mace from the river. That is a crazy.
Oh, when the water tries to eat him?
Yeah. The water teleportation. That's a very Lord of the Rings scene.
The feathers, that's how he evades the monster at the end. Like, all of the items get used on their journey, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's a Chekhov's gun scene. Yeah. It worked out pretty well.
It's a little bit about halfway into the movie when that happens.
I had to rewatch the scene a couple of times. But when they swing back across the chasm, the dad definitely calls the Mace character his real name Eric, and it's so fun. They're like, "Oh, one take." He said Eric, whatever. Nobody's gonna know. Film it. Like, they were not. Yeah, he says Eric.
Oh, that's the actor's name. Yeah.
Right.
That's funny.
That is funny. I mean, I guess they're like, fuck it, we don't got the money for it. Keep going, keep rolling.
His middle name is that's the name that only his dad calls him. You know, like my dad calls me Kenny. Nobody else is allowed to call me Kenny except for my dad.
I'm proud of you, Mace.
You know, so
the resolution of his earlier struggles of being a bad kid.
Yeah, that we didn't see. Why was Mace allowed to have a blaster in the first place? That's what I want to know.
Fight the Empire? I don't know.
What kind of parents? He runs off. He steals his parents' blaster and runs off.
Also, I'm pretty sure these are
takes the sister with him for some reason.
We see those life monitor bracelets that they have,
and then
that was so odd.
That's weird. If you have a bracelet,
how did it know he was still alive?
So is it like an Apple Watch? Like you use it to monitor your own?
And why does that warthog thing have it? Is that like warthog thing a pet of the giant or so? I mean, I didn't understand it.
Right. Yeah. That didn't make a lot of sense. But like, is it? Yeah. So how do those things work? So like, is it that you're monitoring your own vital signs to like make sure you're getting your steps in, like, and that you're getting your heart rate up and stuff? Like, I guess that's the only way. Because like, otherwise, you would think that it would be like the parents would have like the kids life monitor thingies. Because
I don't know.
because
Maybe
then
were
they would,
escaped
then they'd be able to track
some kind
them
of
or
slave
whatever.
planet where they were
I don't know. It's kind of a weird.
enslaved. We know no backstory, so who knows? No, there will never be.
Right, there's
And
no
I don't think
backstory
we
for
ever
these
will.
guys.
Happens in these movies.
I mean, there's a sequel that we get to talk about at some point. It probably won't be anytime too soon, but there's a sequel.
There might be. I mean, some of this stuff might have gotten followed up on. Did we look in Wikipedia?
I did not. I didn't care enough or think, to be honest with you. But you are correct. I mean, Star Wars does like to go back and make references to things that happened years ago a lot. So you are right that there could be something there that was referenced. Star Wars is good at that.
Mace disambiguation. Mace Tuwani. I wonder if that's him.
That's their last
I have
name.
no idea.
Yeah, that's him.
Oh. See, Wikipedia is always wonderful because it even references odd shit like this movie. So
Yeah.
I forgot they meet a lizard in this movie too, because we got to have more real animals.
Oh, there you go.
He was born 11 BBY.
Oh, it's 11 years before the Battle of Yavin.
And Sindel was born 9 years later. And they came from a place which had no furry creatures, according to Sindel.
That's why she likes the ferret so much.
Oh, Star Wars. Oh, and she wears the monitor, I guess, after they find it. Or she's wearing a monitor because I'm rewatching it. Oh, they have a mouse, too, in this movie because the lizard she picks up turns into a mouse. This is a strange movie.
When Mace held
Okay,
it,
so...
it turns into a lizard, and then when Sindel turns into a mouse, like, she's the one. Okay.
So they're referenced in the Return of the Jedi Junior novelization. And then the Ewoks and the Lost Children. Let's see what that is.
I have no idea. That's nothing I'm familiar with.
A children's book adaptation of the TV film. So is it? And the other thing is an audio thing that sounds like it's an audio.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Oh, we didn't talk about the Tinkerbell in this movie.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was a weird effect too. I'm like, this is so fake. But I mean, that's it's 84. But like,
and they, all of them
and I just
go
understand the
back
purpose.
into
Like, why
Sindel's
is
little
there a
Kendall,
Tinkerbell?
except for the one that got stepped on? That's not part of that family, I guess. Family was a big deal. Yeah, she
that's
helps
the same one that helps.
She distracts the big giant ogre thing.
I like that giant ogre thing, and I'm also happy to know that giant ogre is in Star Wars Galaxies that I'll never play.
Is pretty cool,
but it makes me happy to know that it exists in something else.
So yeah, so he only so we actually we don't get he only appears in the 2 Ewok movies. He doesn't have, but there's like a million sources for this article. Is it all behind the scenes stuff?
I feel like I don't think it's as deep as you're trying to go.
Oh no, it just has to.
Well, the thing is, I always think that these like old expanded universe art like things are interesting when they've some of them have been expanded upon and some of them haven't. But I always think it's interesting when you see a little piece of the puzzle before the whole puzzle was built. This was before, this is Legends continuity, but it was before there was a Legends continuity. And when I say that, I don't even mean in the sense of like Disney defining it as Legends versus canon. Like this was before. For me, Legends continuity starts with the Thrawn trilogy. That's where Tim Zahn establishes, Coruscant is the capital of the, this was before Coruscant existed. This was before, we had any story post Return of the Jedi. We literally just had the movies. So it's Splinter of the Mind's Eye. It's, the holiday special. It's the Marvel comics. There's these early supplemental materials are just so fascinating to me sometimes. That's especially fair. if it's stuff that led to later stuff, but that doesn't appear to have happened here.
No, this is just the next movie does have something that does lead into later stuff that I'm not going to say if you don't know. Nice. But there is something in the next movie that leads into Star Wars. This movie just imitated Lord of the Rings and tried to make a cool adventure story.
I wonder if Sindel shows up anywhere else.
I'm just looking through. Like, I do like the ending, the climax when they fight the giant, and just the way they filmed it, and it feels like an 80s movie. It really just has that
fight was pretty good
vibe, and I liked it.
And Mace uses the dead Ewok's axe to finish him off. I don't know. Yeah.
Yep. I liked that a lot.
I mean, they did.
I did too.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff is just basic storytelling. That's all we need.
Yeah. And Kendall's right. That is all you need sometimes. You just need, you just want a story. And like him finding his parents, and they're all kind of beat up when when he does find them. And they never say how long they're there, or how long they've been missing. I'm assuming it's only a few days. And then when they use the whole, like, I didn't understand why they had to rocket him up, and then the Ewoks come up, and then they all climb down. I'm like, why did more than one person have to climb up into the cage to tie a rope to then go down? Like, I did not understand.
I think it was to help the parents,
like, weaken,
because like the parents were like in rough shape.
Really make sense to me either why the warrior had to go up there, but the way that they launch Mace is great. They just jump off a rock onto it.
It was funny.
Okay, so apparently Sindel is mentioned in the third book of the Black Fleet Crisis trilogy, which I've never read.
I've never heard of that.
It's in between the like more famous expanded universe stuff and New Jedi Order. So it's like after it takes place after like the Han Solo trilogy and what's it called? Is it the Corellian trilogy? Whatever the one with
I'm not sure.
The one and obviously the Jedi Academy trilogy and all that stuff. Like it's one of those that's like kind of, I think it's before Hand of Thrawn and before the Yuzhang Long, but yeah, it's not one that I've read.
Okay, hey, that's
Michael
cool
P.
that she exists
Hugh
somehow.
McDowell.
She lives on.
Somebody mentioned her. So eventually, after they kill the giant, I like how the giant almost comes back, and they got to kill the giant to, finish off the job, and it's just, the old trickery of what's closer to the camera.
They just have them fall down a chasm. That's what happens to the spider. Just falls down the chasm, except for the one that Wicket stabbed. Yeah, that was.
I like the spider.
But then the spider comes back
with his little Ewok.
Yeah,
knife.
I was glad that they had like a follow up there with the white hats. When they left the white hats behind, the white hats have to have a little bit of a fight.
And then the very last bit, they're celebrating the Ewok village. Unfortunately, not the same song though. As at the end of Return of the Jedi, I wanted that song, but it's not that song. I like that song a lot. Oh, and I guess the girl gets ears, or not ears, but get the little wing hats.
Yeah.
Oh, who is the voice of the narrator? Because I recognized that voice, but I couldn't place it.
Oh,
I knew that voice.
He's the person. I recognized the name. I forget. Let me see if we have
known
here.
For all kinds of stuff I have not seen.
I'm looking him up too.
Looks like he's the snowman in. He's a snowman in one movie, in the one thing. In Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh, maybe that's why I recognize. That's probably what I knew. I'm like, I know this voice. But yeah, Kyle's right. He's been in a ton of shit. So, but it's probably Rudolph, and that's where it stuck with me. And just like in the back of my head, just there, like I know this voice. I don't know where I know it, but I know this voice.
Which too?
It's one of those things where it's just.
He was the narrator in Rudolph. Okay. Yeah, so he was also the narrator in. That makes sense that he's the narrator in Caravan for Courage.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I liked them having a narrator in this. I thought that worked well for what was going on.
Yeah,
especially for the scenes that were just Ewoks, where you didn't have translation.
It reminded me of the holiday special with the Wookiees, where the Wookiees talking Wookiee.
Yeah,
same idea.
Yep.
All right, any last things you want to say about the movie before we go to Shelf Stacker Box?
An adventure.
No, I feel like I made all my points.
Yes, actually.
Hey, but aren't you excited for the sequel now? You can be truthful. I am too, because I've actually never seen the sequel. I've only watched this movie because it never got recorded, so I never watched the second one. And the second one looks more interesting.
It's the
second one, they fight marauders. That's all I know about it. They confront the evil marauders. Yes.
Yep, that's the one. That's the one people think of when they think of battles that take place on Endor. It's the second Ewok movie.
All right, let's go to Shelf Stacker Box, and I'll lead us in. I'm putting this in the box. Don't need to ever see this again. I'm glad we covered it. I'm glad it will exist as part of the series, but I'm good. Don't hate it, but
I'll put it in the stack. So, it was fun. Kyle. When I watched this, I wasn't tempted to look at my phone or anything. I actually watched the movie all the way through. I got some laughs. I had some good times. So probably won't watch it again, but I'm glad I watched it.
All right. And Kendall.
Yeah, this is tough because
Star Wars movie?
Well, first of all, it's Star Wars, so I always need to have access to it just in case. But, you can technically access things in a box. But if you're talking about, the original idea of shelf shelf stacker box for
Yes.
for video games or whatever. Like I'm not putting this on the shelf. I'm not displaying it proudly. Or maybe I am. I don't know. I mean, if I had
I think you would if you had a physical copy.
I will say if I had a physical copy, it would go right next to the holiday special on the shelf. Yeah. I think it has to be a shelf. I don't know. Like I said, I find the like weirdly specific, semi-forgotten artifacts of Star Wars to be super fascinating. I do wish that it had gotten followed up on a little bit more. Like I think I would have been if there was somebody if Sindel showed up in, as the main character in a random Star Wars novel by Timothy Zahn or Michael Stackpole or Aaron Alston or something, like that would have been really cool. But it doesn't sound like it was super followed up on. I don't know how much it directly influenced what might come. But I mean, I'm glad. I mean, if this helped people who were, if this helped people who were 10 years old when it came out, keep loving Star Wars long enough until they were old enough to play the role-playing game or whatever. Like I gotta appreciate that.
All right. I guess because I changed my. I'm gonna say stack too. I'm gonna redo my
Star Wars history
because you guys are right.
Artifact.
But yeah. Now, hey, I was, and you can buy a DVD of this for Amazon. Don't for $28. I'm sure there's cheaper prices with a 2-pack. Ooh, but this is on DVD actually.
How about
so? Unlike the holiday special, this can be bought on a legal DVD. Huh. I mean, the holiday special can be bought in DVD, just not a legal DVD. Because I know Kendall has it. Another one of my friends, Peter, been on a lot of Star Wars episodes. He has a copy of it, so it's out there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you can find. I mean, you can watch most of it on YouTube. I think you can watch all of it on YouTube except for the cartoon, which is on Disney Plus. And the cartoon is good, so you should watch the cartoon. Also, you should watch the Ewok Droids cartoon. I haven't watched the Ewoks cartoon, but the Droids cartoon is like super charming and fun.
Not very long either, is it? Right?
I don't know how many episodes there are. It's one of those things where like I watched. I mean,
as a kid,
you don't need to binge it, but it's a fun thing to throw on and watch an episode or two of.
Are you sure? I don't need to make it like just sit down and watch it nonstop. Like, oh my god!
I mean, if you're into it, then more power to you. Or if you're the kind of person that like always has something on in the background, like it's great for that. But it's solid 80s Saturday morning cartoon. For me, if I'm in the mood for something like that, I watch an episode or two, and the
Ewok cartoon had 26 episodes between 2 seasons.
One episode.
See what Droids is. Somebody greenlit and said, absolutely not. How do you get greenlit for one episode and then get canceled? Like, how does that work?
Oh yeah, it's like a 2-part.
Maybe it was like a stinger episode. I feel like there's kids. There's a lot of kids shows that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's 48-minute episode. So it's like, yeah, he's right. It's just a
way to wrap things up. Yeah. Oh. It's just that stuff is interesting to me. And read Splinter of the Mind's Eye too.
I've never seen Droids, and I don't think I ever want to see Droids, but I've done dumber things on this well, maybe not, but I do dumb things with this podcast, so hey, maybe.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, it is what it is, but it's charming and fun, You don't have to that's all you need. Read Splinter of the Mind's Eye, read the Han Solo adventures, go dig up the Marvel comic from the 70s, do it all, read it all. It's all great. And then read the new stuff too. The new stuff is great too. And read the in-between stuff. Read the like, you know what? Some of the most fun that I've had is reading a handful. I've read a handful of like the notoriously bad expanded universe books. Like I read Darksaber a couple of years ago, and it was a really fun experience. I reread Courtship of Princess Leia, which is like which is such an artifact because like all the characters are written horribly. The Force works in ways that it shouldn't, but we got the Night Sisters out of it, and we got riding Rancors. Like
actually,
nobody would have thought to ride a Rancor if not for that.
Come before that book.
Before Courtship of Princess Leia?
The first Night Sister is in 1980. What year is this movie? 84, 85 is the first Night Sister.
Okay, so, it's the first night. The first Night Sister shows up in Battle for Endor. Yes. Is what you're saying?
Yes, the first witches are in that.
Nice.
If you say
that's where they come from.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So-
If that's the case, we'll
And
have to talk about that when we watch it.
we will. And Kendall, where can people find you at?
So you can find me at kendallcast.ninja. The Kendallcast feed has had some issues with our RSS provider. So you can look at the Kendallcast feed on iTunes and everything else, but it might be a little bit behind. So you can either go to kendallcast.ninja or Kendallcast on YouTube and look at all the stuff, videos and podcasts and everything. We do a thing called the movie Kendallcast movie roundtable, where my buddies and I watch a movie every month and review it, a similar format.
And argue with each other. Don't forget that part.
Yeah. We argue with each other.
Fun.
Although the last few episodes we haven't had Jeff on because he's had personal commitments and we argue way less. So, but that's probably, if you're listening to this, that's probably something that you'd be interested in. Or if you're a general fan of video games, if you go on the YouTube page, anything that starts out with Kendall is bad at on there is going to be a video game stream or a video game review. So you can check that out.
All right. And Kyle, did you have anything to plug?
Nope.
Couldn't remember because I forgot to ask. So, all right. If you enjoyed this episode, if you want to hear the rest of our good Star Wars content, good Star Wars stuff, this wasn't that bad. You can find everything we do in the show notes. There are well over 50 Star Wars episodes. It might be bigger by the time you hear this. It's getting there. I do a lot of Star Wars content, so check out all those. If you want to support this show, we do a Patreon, Little Darling Vote in our Patreon poll. We have 1 to 2 polls a month. Great way to affect the show. If you want to chat with us, you want to be on the show, if you want to suggest things that I will get to someday, you just want to lurk to make the number go up, please join the Discord. You will see a link in the show notes to our Discord. I'm always happy to have new people join us, so please do that. And I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hell Half Free. You can follow her on TikTok and Instagram. Definitely go check her out. And please, and check out the Gamers 40 of Bill Tucker. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube audio only. And rate, review, get your podcast. I think it's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.